Wait, we'll start without her. Okay. And I'm going to share my screen for the agenda. And I'm going to call to order the special meeting of the Sustainability Committee of the Town of North Stonington, July 20th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Tila. Oh, you can't hear me?
I can't hear you.
Can no one hear me?
I can hear you.
Huh. Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me? Huh.
This is like what I do at work all day. What now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yeah, can you hear me now?
I can hear Craig.
Okay.
I can hear Craig.
Okay.
Can you hear us now, Tula?
Yeah.
Okay, you're good. Okay. Okay. Calling to order, I'll repeat it for her sake. The Sustainability Committee of the Town of North Stonington special meeting, July 20th, 2021, 6 p.m. Alexis Kahn present.
John Lindsay present.
Rick Pasula present.
Tula Balistrassi.
And Pat Turner should be joining later. Okay, so I wanted to first go through kind of the progress that we've made so far. So I'm gonna do a lot of stopping share screen and starting share screen if that's okay. But I'm gonna start on this agenda item number 2, which is just kind of the update on progress thus far. So essentially, as I think we had talked about last time, we wanted to go after the low-hanging fruit that is those items that we've already perceived that there's been progress done on them because we submitted for them last year, but the feedback that the Sustainable CT review team gave us was that, yeah, you're kind of there, but you need to do X, Y, and Z in order to get full credit for that. So because we already have, identified those as something that we've already done the work for, and it's just a matter of picking up some additional, whether it's information or doing an additional step, we wanted to go after those first. So the fellows that we work with at Sustainable CT did a very helpful exercise, which was putting together kind of like what, and I'm gonna have to zoom way in for this, but the out of the action items that make up the entire, comprise the entire Sustainable CT application process, they went through and color coded actions that we completed with points awarded that we already get credit for because we've already done everything. We're basically recertifying it for this year. They might have to like renumber some of them, but they'll take care of it. It's administrative. So basically, my understanding is that we kind of for that bucket, I think they added it up, sorry, at the end. For those that are already kind of completed and will just roll over and carry over, I think it was, they didn't do the tally at the end. I want to say it was about 200 points. And then everything else, they color coded in yellow or orange to mean that there's something else that we have to do in order to get credit for it. And so we made a pass at this list, and then I met with Mike and Christine twice, and Bailey, sorry, who's Mike's assistant for the town of North Stonington, and went through and identified, okay, is this something that we think that we can obtain or put together to kind of round out the entire requirement for this action item, thereby thinking that we'll be able to get the full points available for that action item, or is it something that we're not going to be able to do, and what we need to do in order to get there? Oh, I think Pat's just joining now too. So we went through that whole exercise and came up with sort of our kind of list of, there's a lot of things that Bailey, for example, can put together. There's some things Mike is going to get from Donnie or Joe. I don't actually know what their roles are, but I think something having to do with the transfer station. So there's most of the things are, sources that Christine can pull together. She's already sent me things, which I created a Google Drive, which I can share with all of you, but basically it's going to be our way of exchanging documents with the fellows that can upload them into the portal for Sustainable CT for submission, because they know how to best navigate the system. So essentially we kind of have a lot of that is just kind of pulling stuff either Juliet has or Christine has or Mike can get from somebody or Bailey can put together. Bailey, I think, is going to be a helpful resource in addition to the fellows, because she can just kind of do some of the admin stuff. Then what we also did, so we went through kind of like what we've already submitted for and just kind of need to get over the hump. So, you see in some areas, like it was 10 points. We did submit something, but we got 0 points because it didn't fulfill the requirement. And I can share this all with you after the meeting to go through this on your own, like to review it as you'd like. But then the other thing that we went through, can you see a list called accessible actions? Or are you seeing my screen now for that? Okay. So what this is that this was provided to us by the fellows. The color coordination is Town of North Stonington specific. The list itself is generic. It's not Town of North Stonington specific. And this is just what, Sustainable TT says, here's some items that we find are, again, maybe like on the easier side or what you might already have in place. So again, accessible actions sort of speaks volumes. And so what the fellows did in the color coordination part of it was, again, like show us what is we've already tried to go after or what we've already attained. And then everything that isn't colored in this document is what we would essentially be like starting from scratch. So something that we might want to look to embark upon for this round that we didn't try to go after in past years. And so the other, so we can, I don't know if I had another call with some of them we talked about and sort of, and I can go through that list, but like identified with Mike and Christine, what they think is of these new action items, what would be sort of feasible for us to do. So I had another call with the fellows today, and unfortunately, there's some things like one of participate in equity training. We were thinking, oh, okay, we could definitely do that. It's a sustainable CT training. We can just, a couple of us, it requires a 3-person cohort. We'll just, like me or one of, somebody from the committee, if they're interested, and, Mike and Christine could all do it. And unfortunately, it's all filled up for the summer, and the earliest available slot that Sustainable CT has for this training is in the fall. So we can still do it. It just wouldn't be fulfilling any point system for this certification cycle. So it's kind of like, well, I think it would still be valuable. I'm still interested in kind of seeing what it entails, but this is kind of off the table because of the fact that the fellows told me that this training is no longer available for the summer. So, it's some of it is accessible and some of it is not based on what the feedback I'm getting from the fellows. There are a lot that are kind of training oriented. And the interesting thing that I found out from the fellows outside of this equity training, some of the other ones that were training related, like for example, implement sustainable purchasing. That was another one that we were kind of talking about. Participate in a training and or adopt a sustainable purchasing policy. The training, I said, okay, which training is it? And the fellow said, this one, in fact, is a training. It could be something that, is through, another municipality or another organization, or it's sort of like they have some resources, which I haven't, because we just had this call today, I didn't delve into in a lot of detail, but they give you, Sustainable CT gives you resources to kind of maybe potentially find one of these trainings, but there's no specificity when it comes to what training that is. So, this could be a good one, because if we find something that we think fits the bill, we could do a training on sustainable purchasing policy. And it doesn't have to be our team. It could just be somebody from the town. So there were some interesting, I would say training opportunities. Oh, there was another one, sorry, that I was thinking of that I think was maybe interesting to you, John. It was on, oh gosh, it was on public transportation. I think, you know what, I have it in a separate document. Let me look at this, sorry.
That's fine. When you send this to us at the end of the meeting, I'll review it. I'm going to be on a plane tomorrow morning for a few hours.
Oh, it's a good time to review documents. It was, oh gosh. I think it was support zero emission vehicle deployment. Have one municipal elected official, staff member, commission member attend a training related to electrification of municipal vehicles. So again, they didn't say which training we have to take, but if we can find one that we think fits the bill and isn't of interest to us to attend, or to, again, it doesn't have to be one of us, but if we, like, in your kind of free time, if you feel like researching trainings that, virtual trainings or something like that on that topic, that could be something that, if somebody takes that, we can get credit for something like that. So that was interesting feedback. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm curious, not that I'm looking to shortcut it, but given the fact that I am an expert in this space, is there anything I can submit for qualification purposes to say we've met the requirement?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wonder if you could just do like, could you just do a webinar or something? I don't know if that's something that you could just pull out of the hat, but that you could just do on that topic, and as long as some of us attend, it would fit the bill.
Yeah.
In the town has purchased or is purchasing electric vehicles. I'm sure they've had some education on it. Don't we already have that somewhere?
Actually, the town was looking at purchasing a Class 8 trash truck.
Right.
I did the initial analysis on
Okay.
it with it. So yeah, I was involved in it to an extent. And you actually had somebody in the town, but I don't think they were a member of a committee that did the grant request for the vehicle as well. So there was some information floating around on it, but it wasn't anything specific along the lines of training. It was just evaluating the cost of the vehicle and the cost savings associated with the vehicle and what some of the infrastructure costs were for the vehicle.
Seems like it shouldn't be too hard to put something together to get something there.
Okay. Well, that's easy enough for me to do. If I can't actually conduct the training myself, I'll find one for us to or for me and validate it. But cool, great.
No, that sounds perfect. So what, I guess so I'll send all of this after the fact. Again, this has kind of been a compilation that's coming together over the last few days. So now that we've discussed it, I can distribute this all to you. But I guess there were a few things that during my review yesterday morning with Mike, and it was like part 2 of 2 with Mike and Christine, there were several items that, as I said, a lot of them he was saying, oh yeah, I can get this from so-and-so, and Bailey can put this together, that kind of thing. But there were some things that he thought that we as the committee would be best positioned to take the lead on. So I can just run through some of these if that's okay, because we were kind of targeting our group to work on this, if that's okay.
Yeah, great.
So, so the first one, let's see if I'm going to go in order. Several of them were kind of in your vote, Pat, because the first was 3.12. And I will, let's see, what am I screen sharing right now? Oh, okay, sorry. PDF, where's the PDF? There we go. 3 point, and I'll zoom in. Don't worry, I know it's teeny tiny. 3.12 is enhanced pollinator pathways, and so provide education to residents and local businesses to improve pollinator habitat, plant pollinator gardens, or pass a pollinator friendly community resolution. So this seems like you're already working on this area. So not sure if, you know, this whole section on pollinator pathways, if you think there's anything that we've already will have done by August 24th that you think we can submit, you know, anything for.
I'll have to go over it with you, figure out what we need by August 24th, but yeah.
Okay, great. So I had that whole like 3.12 section of, I kind of identified for, since you're already working on this. Then I'm sorry, I skipped around. There's 3.10, which is facilitate invasive species education and management. I reviewed this with the fellows today. Basically, we had submitted in the last, and as you can see, it's orange because we had submitted for it, but we didn't get the credit for it. And the issue that they identified, and I think it's worth like, you know, it's this whole this whole section, it has all these subsections, but essentially the, if I understood correctly, what the feedback they gave me is that, and I went back and looked at what we had submitted last year, and it was a bunch of emails / confirmation of with the lakes in particular, what our contract was with, and I can't remember the name of the company right now, but it's essentially for the milfoil mitigation. And so we had all this documentation, which was basically like the receipts of the contract with that company to do the milfoil mitigation. But what they're looking for here is more of like our overall, instead of just, you know, receipt for that, receipt for that, receipt for that for a contractor, they're looking for kind of like an overarching, like a view of what we're doing as a town in terms of invasive species, like a little bit more of an holistic perspective, rather than it just being like, here we submitted, you know, this receipt. So on that, I don't know, I think Mike might have mentioned that, is Bill Ricker very involved in the invasive species?
Well, he's
stuff, or do you happen to know who's kind of worked on that? Are you involved at all in that?
No, I'm not involved in all that, but okay, so you want them overall of the town. So Avalonia has developed various sheets, how to identify what to do with various species, and they've done an awful lot of work on the Tri-Town Preserve on Miller Road. Does any of that feed into this? I mean, that they've got what they do, and they're trying to be specific and do the same thing everywhere with, say, knotweed or mugwort, and they're trying to be uniform. And they've organized this. What do we need to show that?
I would imagine that if they've developed that, we can cite that, but I would say, are we directly implementing their recommendations?
Well, they have teams that they're doing with teams.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I have it to implement other places. For instance, the Congregational Church in the village, we just decided where the pathway is on the pathway, and besides the plantings, they have a horrible bunch of mugwort, and using Avalonia's techniques, we hope to address that. I don't know, but they are working in town doing these things.
Okay. So Avalonia is already doing it. So therefore, I would say anything that they have on this, and if they're doing it in the town, I would definitely say that's because we, from what I reviewed today, really all we were focused on in our submission last year in the invasive species section was just the lakes. So that's not very comprehensive. And that's kind of our, again, the criticism that we got. So if you have something from Avalonia on what they're doing, that would be great.
And as far as to log their hours, we fill out jot forms every time and file them. So as far as the documentation that work's been done, all the jot forms could be accessible. Can those be used?
Yes.
I can get them.
Okay, that would be great.
Mhm.
Okay, so I noted that.
I don't know anything about lakes.
No, I don't think we need anything else because the way that this, again, from what the fellows are telling me, is that in a lot of these that, again, are highlighted, not blue is good, but any other color, it means that whatever we already submitted, we can retain because it's rolling. So it's not like, oh, we have to start it off from scratch, but it's just that we have to enhance it in some way with additional documentation or requests or as per the feedback. So what we have on the lakes is already fine, but it's just a matter of kind of stepping up our game.
Just looking below the highlighted one, the other invasive species sections, point 3 and A and B there. I wonder, I don't know the answer to this. If Avalonia has a website, or if there are any web resources, then that would cover A. And if they've ever done a workshop for anybody, then that would cover B.
Hasn't been a workshop. What somebody put together is worksheets for individual species and has circulated that, and it may or may not get posted on the website, but for heads of town committees, it's available to disseminate, that's all.
Mhm.
And it may get on the website, but it's not there, no.
And just for reference, the way that when you see a block of, like, you have to look to the point section because essentially the way that it works, and we learned this the hard way, is that in some cases you can't get credit for just like, we couldn't just do 3.10.3a without doing also 3.10.3b.
Right.
And so, like, while even if we put something on a link to the invasive species educational resource, let's say like we put it on the town website from something else, if we don't do the workshop, we don't get credit, we don't get any credit, because it has to be like, it's based on how it's blocked on the point system. So it gets kind of frustrating because you'll be like, oh, we can do this, oh, we can do that, and then it's part C is like, oh no, we can't do that. And then you might as well not go for it because it doesn't count unless you have everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Then sort of I'm sticking on, and I'm skipping around, I apologize, but I'm sticking to sort of the more open space section before we move on. The other one was develop an open space plan. So that was 3.4. There's some of it is worksheets that they provide that we can just like complete the worksheet that they already, it's not something we have to reinvent the wheel, but essentially there's, I think we had already submitted, we had already submitted stuff for it, but we just need to do these worksheets. And Mike had said that maybe, again, this is like something that Bill, or I don't know, Pat, you would have enough information to be able to help or source the person who would be able to fill out the worksheets, and I can provide them, but that was sort of an identified, our team could maybe work on these.
Yeah, Bill would.
Okay.
Or somebody else on his commission.
Okay. Worksheets. Okay. And then the next one was 3.8, implement low impact development. This was, again, it was a new worksheet that needs to be done, low impact development worksheet, and our codes and ordinances worksheet now required. So again, it was just a worksheet that maybe was perceived to be also a Bill Ricker question, potentially. Conservation Commission question.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is. Do you, Pat, do you see him regularly just in other?
No, I can. No, I can.
Okay.
No.
I mean, I can certainly email him. Is
Yeah.
is he an email kind of guy? Can I send him
Yes, yes,
email?
he is. Responds.
Okay.
Alexis, he is away right now, so
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
it might yeah.
Do you know
I'll let
when
you know when he's back. Yeah, I'll
Okay.
let you know when he's back.
Perfect. Thank you. And then the two other questions. 8.5 was collaborate with other municipal. Sorry, I'm jumping, giving everybody seasickness.
Mhm.
And certainly, like, these were identified as Bill Ricker domain, but certainly if somebody else, I'm happy to reach out to him, but if somebody else wants to work with Bill Ricker, I don't want to steal anybody's desire to work with him on this, but the collaborate with other municipalities, it's 8.5, implement sustainable city actions regionally, participate actively with other towns or regional organizations in the inventory, planning, or implementation of sustainable city action. Mike mentioned, Pat, something about that he had connected you with the town of Greenwich for the Pollinator Pathways. So he thought that might count as, collaborating with another municipality on an action, because clearly the Pollinator Pathways is an action item. So therefore, like, if you're collaborating with another town, that might count. I don't know how that.
I have been in contact with people in the western part of the state.
Okay.
Started Greenwich and Westport.
Okay. On Pollinator Pathways. I was thinking of you, Pat, because I was needed to buy another plant, and I bought a butterfly bush because I was like, oh, I think this is good for pollinators. So I was like, instead of buying, whatever, I was trying to seek out something that was going to be more of a okay.
Well, same here. I've been trying to do more in the yard this year. You start at home, right? So I've been active.
I was sitting at my this afternoon in my office here, and I have a plant outside in which they're blocked by butterflies. So it was not the butterfly bush. I can't see that from my window, but I was feeling happy that there's activity there. Anyway, is there something it looks like for that item, it's a completed worksheet too. So is that something that I could just send you the worksheet and you might be able to complete that for the collaboration?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then the last one was 10.4, which was develop and promote community growing spaces. And the only issue that we had on this was that we were asked, previous submission on Hewitt Farm Community Garden could be used. Please provide a photo, a description of what is grown here, as well as accessibility for residents and how they're made aware of the garden. So Mike thought you might have a picture of
I don't.
Garden,
You need to talk to Mary Ann, Bill Ricker's wife.
Mary Ann. Okay.
Yeah, you need to
Is she
talk to
off
Mary
her
Ann.
way? She's off her way. Okay. Okay. On community garden. Okay, so she's the point person on the community garden.
Yeah. And I could take a picture. But, yeah, she had.
Okay. And then then there were a couple more that were kind of preliminarily maybe John John, resonating with John. 7.4, increased use of renewable energy in municipal buildings. Apparently Bailey can help with this, Bailey, his assistant, but 7.4, this was, the feedback was, please provide the month, day, and year installation for the report. And this is the report of generated through the SCT portfolio manager data for electricity provided by solar installation. And please provide a month, day, and year on the installation for the report. Submit the report through the Sustainable CT Portfolio Manager data request. So I know Bailey was going to be looking into this, but Mike thought that you might have an interest with coordinating with her on that. I don't know if that's.
I would. I'll reach out to her.
Do you have her contact information? I can share it with everybody after the
I don't.
meeting. Okay. Bailey, so I'm just taking notes to make sure I remember. And then okay. Okay, the next one was install efficient exterior lighting. So apparently when I talked to Mike and Christine, efficient exterior lighting, we had, while the conversion was done in 2018, it falls within the time frame for a new action credit. However, this action is usually done as a one-time task and hence no longer qualifies for points. Are there any more municipally and utility-owned streetlights that have been converted since last submission? And it's converting municipally and utility-owned streetlights, like, you know, and like on the street and that kind of thing. So that was. Oh, and then there's the other one, convert town-owned decorative street lights and exterior parking lighting. Documentation proving conversion of these lights is still needed. So I think the issue was that when I was talking to Mike, it sounded like he didn't really know exactly what, because some of it is like we don't know which ones are LEDs, and I don't really know where to start on this one, but you know, trying to get to the bottom of whether, I don't know if this is even accessible, but just essentially the feedback I got was, can the committee take the lead on looking at our municipal lighting? It was kind of like they didn't have anything on at their fingertips that they could source, and they were kind of looking to us to kind of figure this one out. So I don't know if anybody, if, you know, again, not everything that just because we've already submitted for it, we don't necessarily have to go after it this time, so we can drop it. But just wondering if anybody has a desire to look into that one, or if we should just skip it.
Is it the highway department? I mean, depending on where the lights are, right? There's got to be records somewhere. Unless someone can look at a light and say, it's this or it's that, but that's still to tell you when it was done.
Right.
Does the school count? The school should count, right?
Yes, but I think that was the issue. I think from my recollection, we knew when the school ones had been done, but the issue was that, like, on other, like, you know, the street light outside your house kind of thing, there wasn't seemingly much knowledge as to whether that was an LED and when it had been converted and all of that.
Was any of the discussion had with the Department of Public Works to see if they had any knowledge base associated with the work they had done?
Yeah, I don't think they got that far. So that would be, I think, a good place to start. One other one, which was a Eversource question, was 7.7, which is implement a community energy campaign, identify a target audience, select or design a campaign that encourages participants to implement energy saving measures or carry out the campaign. So this whole section, the 7.7, We haven't gone after it before, but I think Mike was saying like that this might be a nice one for us to work on, and that Eversource might be a helpful resource to be able to kind of work on this, that they might have some resources to help in this department. I don't know if that resonates with anybody, like.
Sounds like a cool project. That the thought of beginning and ending it in 4 weeks sounds
Right, daunting.
a little daunting, but
Mhm.
next year or something, I mean, something to do. I mean, it sounds interesting. And I know, I mean, Eversource is always sending out information about renewable resources and educating the public. So I'm sure that's already set, and maybe we could just take their information and somehow, I don't know what it means to incorporate it into this town, but
Right.
it could be possible.
I'm sorry, I was writing. Which item are we on?
7.7, implement a community energy campaign. It's not been one that we've tried to go after in the past, but it was something that when we were going through them, Mike thought, oh, this could be a good one for, again, to your point, maybe we couldn't have it done in time for submission, but just maybe this is one that inspires us to put it together just for the sake of putting together something that's, you know, in the town that's sustainable or sustainably oriented, not necessarily just for credit.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, there are probably lots and lots of prefab completed energy efficiency programs out there, and it's a matter of just taking one and
Yeah.
implementing it. So
Right.
I would be interested, and yeah, I could do that.
Okay, great. Yeah, just to look into what we could kind of use that out of the box, maybe. Okay, so then that was kind of the initial, like when we were going through, and again, I'll send all of this to you. So the accessible actions in particular, that whole spreadsheet, or sorry, that whole list, you know, the ones that we just discussed are ones that Mike thought our committee could run point on, but that doesn't mean that we can't do something that's completely outside of what, you know, Mike and Christine thought. So based on a review of this document, if you feel like, all right, maybe by next meeting, if, you know, we can talk about, well, we haven't talked about this so far, but I think we really want to do it, that kind of thing. Again, either for the certification or for just general, the whole point of the committee, not just for sustainable CT.
Mhm.
The other thing, Mike had emailed me this morning, and I'll pass along this email as well, but I'll just kind of read it. He was also, and what I'm going to do as the next step, because I was planning on talking to the fellows about it next week, is stuff that's going on currently within the town that he thinks might have a sustainable CT fit within one of the action items, and therefore just it's, you know, just a matter of ascertaining which one and what we would need to provide based on the criteria. And so the ones that he expressed, he sent me this email this morning, which is Route 2 study completed to look at the incorporation of sidewalks, Pawcatuck Neighborhood Center now serving as social services for the town with office hours 9 to 4 on Tuesdays. I guess even though it's not our town, it would be for our citizens. Maybe that's why I'd have to ask him more info on that. Does anybody know about the Pawcatuck Neighborhood Center?
Yeah, they cover Stonington, North Stonington. They're just a resource for families or people that need food or clothes or sort of assistance.
Is that something that the town helps to fund? Is that how,
Yes.
like, okay.
Some, I don't know how much we give the Pawcatuck Neighborhood Center, but yeah, it's supported by the towns and donations.
Is that, because it says Pawcatuck Neighborhood Center now serving as social services for the town, is that mean that it is open anew, or?
Well, I thought we used to have a contract with them, but maybe they didn't have office hours here before. I'm not sure. Maybe their physical presence is the physical presence that's changed. You'd have to run that by Mike
Okay. Fine.
Yeah, this is the first time that they came to town.
Got it. Got it.
They,
got it, got it,
they're
got it.
they're located on Route 1 in Pawcatuck.
Got it. Okay. The third point was we are currently in the process after having a public discussion and a couple of meetings of a partnership for an animal shelter with Stand Up for Animals nonprofit. They are looking to build a shelter in our town as we currently don't have one. I don't remember in just like going through the sustainable CT list of action items anything about animals, so I don't think that's going to fit anywhere. But I'll look again. But I don't think that counts. Playground, maybe like wildlife, but not like domestic animals. Playground upgraded at the elementary school through a fundraising campaign of the PTO. Community build took place. Next one was tax relief policy approved by Board of Selectmen to help those in need with the tax burden. Tri-Town Kayak Trail, map created, likely to open in August. More to come. Boone Bridge access.
Alexis, which page are you on? I'm not sure if my screen is frozen.
I'm sorry. I'm just reading an email that you know what? I'll put it on a screen. Sorry. Let me do this.
Okay, I thought I lost my spot.
No. It's just I was reading off an email he sent me earlier that I hadn't, in all honesty, like digested very much. So sort of like breaking news. I haven't really done much with this.
I'm generally and selfishly really interested in that kayak put in by the bridge. If anything needs to be done related to that.
Yeah.
Really
No, that's great.
So Bill Ricker is also working on that kayak trail.
Okay.
Let me just make this. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so we're on Tri-Town Kayak Trail. So, Craig, that's Bill Ricker. Halloween parade and Christmas parade. I'm not really sure if we get credit for anything like that. I'll check, but I don't think so. Gallup House 20,000 grant obtained for feasibility study of the historic town-owned property and study completed. That's definitely, I know I was working with NIDA last year on historic assets for sustainable CT, and I know they look for exactly that, like what we're doing to enhance and kind of continue historic assets that we have in town that we want to make sure they're preserved and what our plan is for that. So that will definitely fit into that section.
Well, I may be wrong because I think Mike would have mentioned it on there, but I thought there was a new grant that related to that we just got. But it's not there, so maybe I'm wrong. I mean, within the last month.
Oh, yes, that's this. Sorry, I just meant, I'm sorry. I meant that last year when I was working with NIDA, it was just on like an inventory of the historic assets of the town, but we didn't have to submit anything for an actual like feasibility, anything related to that. It was just more of like, and then we have this building and this is,
It refers to the grant that they had for the feasibility study. And I believe that there's another grant, I'm not sure how, for like a next step that they got within the last month.
Oh, an additional one.
Yeah, but Mike doesn't have it there, so maybe I'm wrong.
I can ask him about it. I'll ask. He actually, he texted me to say he wasn't going to make it to this meeting, but that I could text him if he had any questions. Grant received for treatment of invasive species on the 3 lakes. We already had submitted for that last year, so I don't think that's anything new. Volunteer day where nonprofits, including themselves, will have a table to recruit for volunteers.
Right.
This is the volunteer fire company, right? Okay. I was like, what can I figure out those letters stand for? Okay. I'll check. I don't know if that has really a fit within sustainable CT, but I can check. So those were things that he said, this is what clearly, when we think about what the town is already doing and what might fit into kind of what the umbrella that is sustainability, these were the items that he identified just based on like what the town is doing. So my next step on this was going to be to share this with the fellows and have them from within the next week, like, because I meet with them every Tuesday at noon, to have them kind of see if they think that these areas have a fit within the action items. And if so, then we'll work on trying to collect the necessary information to be able to submit for that.
Mhm.
Any questions on that?
This is sort of a step back, Alexis, but through all this and getting all this information together, do we have a sense, maybe this has been said before and I just
No,
forgot,
it's okay.
how, I guess, how many points we got last year and how many more we need? You know, it's like 5 points here, 10 points there, like where, just the context would be helpful.
Sure. So the document that the fellows had put together, I think they identified, and I'm scrolling up and I'm going to switch my screen again. But basically they said that by updating all the sub actions that need revisions, excluding expired sub actions, like basically by updating all the ones that they color coded, so that wouldn't be brand new, that would just be kind of providing a little bit more information, or, you know, fill out this worksheet or whatever, and something that we already submitted for but didn't get enough points last time. By doing that, to meet the requirements for 2021, we could be awarded between approximately 390 and 410 points. So that is assuming that we would have everything we need, which we don't, to be able to kind of like meet the gap between what we already submitted for an action item and what we would need in order to get full points. But the point of this is that without doing anything new at all, we're in the range, because 400 points is what's needed for silver certification. So essentially, like, those low hanging fruit, we can get pretty close. Again, we're going to fall short just because some of them were just like, when we went through all of them, we're like, oh, these, you know, this is just not going to be done to their standard of what would qualify. But essentially, you know, we're kind of close. Like, we're not, you know, especially if we have some new things this year, we're not that far off, in other words.
Mhm.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it makes it sounds like this is accessible and possible.
Right.
So that's good to know.
Okay. I next wanted to, any last thoughts on that before I just move on and put the agenda back up? So we kind of went through items 2 and 3 to discuss proposed new and identified areas for application submission in which committee members can, you know, spearhead helping to complete an action item. Any final thoughts on that? Again, I'll send this all to you and you can take a look at it in greater detail and then say like, hey, I want to work on this, or, you know, hey, I want to work on that. And but this is just sort of preliminarily through the town's review, where we identified some areas for our team to work on.
Mhm.
Okay, the community match grant program, I wanted to just bring that up again because last time we had Aid present to us on, you know, sort of the general parameters of the matching grant program. And I know, Pat, you and I exchanged a little bit of an email correspondence about Pollinator Pathways and the grant program, but wasn't sure if anybody in the, you know, since last meeting has other ideas for grants that we want to go after, or you know, additional questions that you want me to find out. Just generally want to discuss what we want to do there, because it's basically like, it's got like free money, so if anybody's passionate about something, we might as well go for it.
Yeah, I'm glad you're talking, you're thinking about that for the Pollinator Pathways. I was thinking about that too. It just seems like an obvious, great, already prepared.
Yeah, but just logistics. I mean, we first we first need the money, then we get the grant, then we can spend the money on the things that were in the grant. But as far as where to put the money, I mean, people aren't just going to give me money. And the garden club has, months ago, before we started all this, thought they couldn't handle the back and forth of monies, collect money and pay out money. I mean, if it's a private account, people aren't just going to hand me money. I mean, it can be done that way, but it's just not going to work. How do we collect? How do I get money to match for the grant? I mean, like I said in the email, I've always been I've never started up an organization. I've always worked with something that was there.
Right. I think it could be, we'd have to get permission, but I think we could do it into a town account.
Mhm.
And then just have the town, I mean, I, as the banker here, I can imagine that we could even just have, the town of North Stonington could just very easily open. And again, I would have to like talk to Mike about this, and Christine, I don't want to make any sort of assumptions, but
Mhm.
just open an account that is, town of North Stonington, and then the title on the account would be, the Sustainable CT Matching Grant Program, and then the funds from the crowdsourcing campaign could be deposited into that account, as well as when ultimately we get the match from Sustainable CT, that portion could also be deposited into that account, and then you could just get a check from the town and reimburse you, or spend it on whatever you need to spend it on for the actual program. So I think that should be, I would imagine that's kind of the easiest way to do it.
Okay. Work with Christine, and then the checks would be written to the town of North Stonington.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I just need to jump off. So sorry, guys, I gotta go to another meeting.
No, thank you for being here, and thanks for being secretary.
I'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, Tula. Have a good meeting.
Thank you.
Bye.
From what I recall, Abe saying, that program is not just giving money, it's sort of, it's helping do the setup to get the money so they can give you the matching money, right? So it sounded to me, and maybe this was me being too optimistic, but it sounded to me like they sort of they help you do all that, would help us or help whoever do all that, set up the program to raise the money so that we can match. And they imagine they probably, since they've been through it over and over, they probably have some idea how to work out the logistics as far as where the money actually goes and all that stuff too.
When the last year for the Pucker Road property, to make a donation, I wrote a check to Avalonia. They had the money, and then when it matched there, I could write a check to Avalonia for that. And I think you could also write a check to the town.
Yes. Yeah, so typically when I worked with Abe on this last year for the Pucker Road, really what we did was I organized a call with him. Like, the process is organized a call with him, talk to him about exactly what we were looking to do, kind of like teased out some of the details. We had questions about, well, what about this and what about that, like contingencies, but we kind of arrived at exactly what we were looking to achieve. And then he brought it back to his, like, the other kind of, there's like kind of like a committee for Sustainable CT Matching Grant Program, to just kind of talk to them to make sure, like, socialize it to make sure they were comfortable with it. And then I had to write, like, or maybe Avalonia wrote this actually, like a little paragraph that was just kind of the official submission, but it was very informal. It's not a full application. It's just like summarizing essentially what you talked about on the call with him. And then they say, okay, yep, you're all set to go. And then they give you access to the crowdsourcing like link. And then you just create the crowdfunding page. And then, upload photos and that kind of thing, whatever you want to say in terms of the campaign. And then you just start publicizing that link and the information on the project. And then, so that's kind of the process. And Abe's really great about, again, it's like, he'll guide you all along in terms of You know what I mean? It's very collaborative, at least from my past experience. I mean, I had many calls with him last year, and it wasn't like, okay, well, once I submitted it for the application, like, the door closes and we just have to wait for our money. It was very much like, hey, what about this? And oh, there's been a delay. And he just kind of, runs, like, helps you through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I can also ask, let's see, so my questions to Mike are about the additional grant for the historic assessment sort property.
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought I was told that, but maybe I'm wrong.
And then can we set up an account for under Nosto town of for the grant funding campaign? Okay. Do we want to start with, and I don't think this needs to be, does this need to be an official vote? I don't think it needs to be a vote, but I was going to say, should we, as sort of like our first test case, start with Pollinator Pathways as a grant matching program and then kind of see how that goes and at least have like one under our belt? Or I know, John, you were having interest in maybe another one for kind of a feasibility study.
Yeah, I'm actually not preoccupied while I'm sitting here looking at my other screens. I'm taking notes and typing
Oh,
something.
that's okay.
Yeah, so I was going to send just kind of recommendations on some of the things I was looking at for the community grant program.
Oh, okay.
Some of them were around energy sustainability for the buildings that already have solar arrays. You had a pretty good idea last time we talked about upgrading the website so that we could put a link in there for recommendation of the week for sustainability efforts or programs like a TED Talk, things like that. So yeah.
And I did, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to submit them back to everybody to review and, make comments on either go ahead or wait until we get something like the Pollinator Trail under our belt.
Oh, that sounds good. There's no reason, I think it's just capacity. I don't, from what Abe has told me, there's no reason that we can't have multiple grant matching programs going on at once. It's just a matter of, are we saturating the town with too many requests? But if they're different enough, you might get one person who's willing to donate to one kind of thing, but not willing to do the other. And you know what I mean? Like, so you might kind of balance it out. It's just, I think, a matter of whether there's no reason from their perspective that we can't do them simultaneously. On the website, I did talk to the fellows 2 weeks ago, like not this past Tuesday, but the Tuesday before, about the question of, does Sustainable CT have something that we could almost do like a vanity link that's just for the town of North Stonington, but like they source the information and it would just be easier. And they said that they kind of ran it by somebody at Sustainable CT, but they didn't really get a clear answer. So they were going to follow up on it. But they said, actually, that's a really good idea that the Sustainable CT should have something like that. So maybe it's something that they would eventually put together, but they didn't think they had anything like that currently. But, I was thinking when I have some time, I was thinking of doing like, I've built like, simple websites before, just using like something, the web-based platform, not something that I would be able to code it because I do not have coding experience, but I could do like a quick mock-up of just, I'm just thinking about a simple landing page that just we could just kind of update, all of us has access to it, and it's just kind of like, oh, I read this interesting article and post it, and here's what we're doing with Sustainable CT, and here's where we stand on, like, it could even be like a counter of, okay, we think we're about up to like 350 points, and what's going to get us over to 400, and announcements about the program and that kind of thing. So I don't think that would be that hard to just kind of do, at least like a very simple version that I will try to mock up and send just like a test to everybody if you want, unless somebody is really into website building, in which case I do not want to steal your thunder.
It's all yours.
Okay. I'm getting disgusted faces, so.
We need a millennial on our board, I think.
I'm sorry?
We need a millennial on our board.
I know, I know. And unfortunately, I technically am, but I always make a big stink over being classified as a millennial because I don't feel like I have any of their traits, but I technically am, so.
Along those lines, I mean, in the same thread, I was actually thinking of the North Stonington webpage for the link and activity associated with that. So maybe somebody could sign up to it. They'd get updates associated with it. It'd drive traffic to North Stonington for other events like voting related events, budgetary related of that nature. So that's kind of why I was preoccupied with the North Stonington site. But I know how hard it is to sometimes maintain a site of that nature. It's just an idea.
Right. So if I understand correctly, you're saying that you're advocating for it to be a page that's actually on the town of North Stonington site rather than a standalone like sustainability committee, so that it wouldn't just be a standalone like separate thing.
Yeah, or even a mild enhancement to the town's website, mentioning the sustainability committee, the members of it, and then the link for, kind of like a weekly or monthly TED Talk. And again, if somebody clicked on the link, they'd get the option to be able to sign up to the site to go back to it for updates or get notifications of updates, driving kind of traffic back to the town website for the activities, because I know the town has always talked about some of the concerns associated with notifying people of various different events. I just thought it might drive traffic.
Right.
Yeah, I think it should be on the town, accessible from the town's website.
Right. Okay.
I think that may actually limit cost as well, because you wouldn't have to sustain a site. You wouldn't have to, all that. It's already there.
Right. Okay. Let me talk to I'll talk to Christine about this. Okay. Anything else on community match grant program? The next one, actually, anything else on, I'll skip to the, sorry, I will skip to Pollinator Pathways again. Anything last on that, because I just have one more item. So anything else that you wanted to discuss, Pat, on Pollinator Pathways, or do we cover everything?
Yeah, I think right now, I mean, the costs involved are plants for public areas and education materials for the homeowners along the path, printing, and that's about it.
Okay. So the next item, you might be kind of like, why is this on my agenda? It's the recycling program, discussing the materials that town members can recycle at the North Stonington transfer station. The reason this is on there is because there is one of the action items that we were reviewing was that the list of non-fee recyclable items needs including it, that it's been discussed in a town committee, that it's that this has been kind of promoted in a committee. And so we're like, well, we can talk about it in our sustainability committee. So I'm just going to run through, and if anybody has any thoughts on, okay, well, maybe we want to expand the recycling program, or do a special recycling campaign or something, like it doesn't need to just be as boring as I'm going to now talk about the items that are accepted at the North Stonington transfer station, but that's just the rationale for why I'm doing this. So on the North Stonington, now I'll share my screen, on the town website, on the transfer station section, it talks about the items that are accepted for a fee versus not fee. What's important to sustainable CT is what we don't charge for. So, you know, household garbage, recyclable material, used motor oil, hydraulic fluids, transmission oil, diesel oil, automotive antifreeze, propane tanks, car batteries, nickel, cadmium batteries, brush, leaves, wood ashes, building demolition materials, rugs, dishes, pottery, ceramics, aerosol cans, windshields, window glass, and paint, latex or base or oil-based only. Oh, Don is the highway foreman. Okay. They kept mentioning his name, Don and Don and Don. And I was like, I don't really know what Don does. And then single stream recyclable material. This is what's accepted in terms of recycling items. All containers should be empty and clean. Aerosol cans, aluminum foil, aluminum tray, paper egg carton, plastic bottles, paper milk and juice cartons, magazines, catalogs, newspaper, office paper and folders, glass bottles, cereal, shoe boxes, plastic cups, plastic cups, that's interesting. Lids, straws go in trash. Plastic food, clamshells, that's also interesting.
Wow.
Metal and aluminum cans, phone books, junk mail, and paperback books. So those are all the items that can be recycled. So actually, I feel like I learned some things because I did not know that plastic clam shells and I don't know if I knew that plastic cups could either.
I didn't know about the cups. I knew the clamshells.
Yeah. The other interesting thing, and I don't know if this is correct, but I was just listening to something yesterday, I think, that was talking about that from, it was a company that was making their beverages specifically in aluminum cans because they, recycling companies will pay more for them. Like they prefer cans, I guess, to bottles. And so from a, you know, with all the challenges of getting things recycled nowadays, that, you know, we always think, oh, you just recycle it. But like in a lot of cases, they don't want to take the recycling because there's not worth any, you know, there's no value in it. That apparently aluminum cans are kind of in the hierarchy kind of up there. So that was interesting because I never thought that they were like better than anything else. Okay, so that's it on that, I believe. Anything on recycling that anybody is really excited about and wants to talk about? There's also talks about hazardous waste that is also available. All these different things that are accepted. We talked a lot about that, but like paint and anything in the paint department, kerosene, old gasoline, radiator chemicals, auto body chemicals, fuel additives, car battery acid, camping stove fuel, fluorescent bulbs, insecticides, pool chemicals, herbicides, rat poison, mothballs, fungicides, Roundup, rechargeable batteries. But you can't recycle tires, ammunition, gunpowder, auto or marine flares, radioactive materials, large commercial industrial generators of household hazardous waste. All righty, and that's on, oops, we lost Craig. That's on special hazardous waste days. It's not normally taken at the transfer station, but can be deposited on certain days. Okay. And then I will open it up for whatever else you all want to talk about.
I don't have anything, but I do have to leave in 5 minutes.
Okay.
I lost the end. My computer was revolting, I think.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you just learned about recycling stuff.
That's good. I actually, you know what? Just for feedback for the town, there is at town hall, there's a trifold with a list of recyclable materials that I saw last time I was there to vote. And I learned something and I was like, thank goodness for brochures. Like I love good old-fashioned paper brochures.
Actually,
What did you learn? What was the one that you didn't know, if you don't mind sharing?
I'm gonna go, but thank you.
That's all.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Pat.
Yeah.
thanks, Matt. I didn't know about aerosol cans.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So was there a take home after that list? Is there some, is there an action point, or was just a little information for everybody?
It was information for everybody slash demonstrating in minutes that we covered. We talked about this in a town committee meeting because it's one of the action items.
Oh, check. 5 points.
Kind of
Nice
cheating.
job. Did-
hopefully,
yeah,
hopefully Tula won't write. And we cheated.
Did we leave off with an action regarding the pollinators and the grant writing matching program, or?
I think that Pat is gonna, I think that what she was planning on doing was putting kind of further thoughts together on that. And then maybe we could have a call with Abe to actually like present the ideas. And maybe maybe we could do them both at once. John, I know you said you're gonna email us your kind of proposal. So maybe we could just have one call with Abe where we run through both or all or that kind of thing.
Yeah, that'd be fine with me. I'll send it to you at the conclusion of the meeting, and there's just a reminder to put me in touch with, who was it that I was going to get put in touch with? Bailey.
Oh, Bailey. Yep. I have to send out her contact information. Yep. Thank
Right.
you.
I just threw the reminder on there, so you don't have to do it now. It'll come to everybody so they can kind of see it and comment on it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Should I motion to adjourn? Unless anybody has anything else?
I'll
Well,
second.
I feel like I don't have, other than reach out to Eversource and see about this energy efficiency campaign, which will happen at some point between now and a year from now. I feel like I don't have any real to-dos, which is fine. But given that we're supposed to have this deadline in 4 weeks, and I'm a member of like a 5-person committee, I feel like I should have something to help.
Do you have the Tri-Town kayak trail on your
I mean,
area
I'm
too?
interested in that for the purposes of putting my boat in the water and helping it happen. So I guess if anything needs to be done with that, then you'll let me know.
Yeah, I think that's a Bill Ricker thing, and I think we're all just waiting for him to get back from vacation. So maybe when we know he's back from vacation,
August 24th.
poor Bill is going to be like inundated with like 17 requests from our committee.
All right, well, listen, you have my contact information. So if you need
Right.
anything, please let me know.
So I think as another thing is if you want to take a look at everything I'm going to send in terms of what we've already completed, and I'm going to just send that all to everybody. And then if there's something that you're like, let's do this, I really want to run this, then just let me know and we can put that on sort of the running tally of something that because everything in sustainable CT is classified as like, if it's unplanned, so we're just forget that, we're not doing it. And then another classification is planned. So we're working on it. This is intended for the purposes of, submitting the whole completed application. And then once you actually submit for it, you like change the classification. So if it's something that at least we can budget for it, essentially, if it's something that we say, we think this is feasible, somebody has an interest, somebody will kind of run that, then we can do that instead of you're being like assigned something that we're just have identified on our side.
Sure. Okay, I'll take a look.
Okay.
Second to adjourn.
Sorry?
I said second to adjourn.
Oh, okay. Well, then we will complete this meeting, and I wish you both a very nice evening.
Thanks.
Look to see you, Craig.
Yeah, you too, John. Have a safe
Bye.
flight. Here you go and take care.
Yeah, safe flight.
Ah, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.